How's it going, everybody? I hope you guys had a fantastic Thanksgiving. If you guys celebrated Thanksgiving, I was up in the mountains, so I had a lot of fun. So one thing I want to do actually is talk about this new Rift of Worlds update. All right, so this is going to be incredible. I honestly think this is going to be one of the best updates since they added Trail of Ascension, because I remember when they added that, and that was amazing. So let's go through and read it, and then I'll explain different things about it. You know, a lot of you more mid-game to, end-game players are going to benefit from this more. You players that are a little bit lower level probably won't be able to do this yet, so you probably won't see Farmer Phil doing these raids yet, but this should be fun. So let's go ahead and look at it. So for today's developers note, we'd like to talk about Rift of Worlds. Alright, so the first thing I want to tell you right off the bat is that there's going to be a PvE content that you can do with your friends, which is exactly what I suggested and asked for in my old video. So I don't know if they saw the video, and then because I did throw up the ideas to Gary, one of the managers of CompTOS, but I'm sure that they already had it in development. So just really glad to see it coming in. Alright, so a party of 3 players will be facing a gigantic boss in the raid, so you and 2 other friends will go. Each brings a certain amount of, I think you're going to bring 5 monsters each. 6 monsters, oops, this is in the next line. Auto will be supported by auto battle only. Players will be able to see how the fight for each party member is going on a real-time basis. Check the monster information of party members and the chat along with the party while fighting the boss. Alright, so I didn't even know this, but you can only do it on auto mode. That is pretty interesting. So it looks like you're going to need each one of you to bring a good amount of tanky monsters. Make sure that you do not die. So Theo Mars and stuff like that is really going to be nice, especially because he puts on defense break. So the damage meter shows the rankings. Most of that's not really important. It's mostly just you guys share the damage that you deal on the boss. There's 3 different heads. Each group is facing a separate head, but the debuffs are all not shared. The buffs that you do are not shared. Actually, the debuffs might be, but I know that for a fact that the buffs that you put on your own party are not shared. So 3 heads, you face each one. Yeah, separate attack bar, so they each attack the player at their own different pace. And then they will not have separate HP. So you do damage, your friends do damage, etc., and it all goes into the same amount of HP bar that you're doing the damage to. So that'll be nice. That means only one or two of you have to bring nukers if the other one, doesn't really have the monsters for it. But it's suggested that every party member brings a good amount of monsters. Like, it's probably going to be something like, you do the regular Giants raid, but it's 3 people instead. But you bring your similar team to be supporting on your own team, because I don't think you can have one person bring all support monsters and then the other one bring all like nukers and stuff like that. I just don't think it works like that. But in a special formation, which can be divided into 2 lines, front line, and back line. Okay, that's interesting. That's really, really interesting. Alright, hold on, let me read this. Yeah, see, this is where it says it up above right now. It says, please note that the beneficial effects cast on ally monsters will not be shared with the party. So that's, yeah, that means you're going to have to bring your own buff monsters, so your own attack buff, your own defense buff, that kind of thing. Now, that just means you're going to need to have enough roles to fill in the actual raid when you bring your 6-man team, but I'm sure you'll be fine. So the front line will share the damage dealt to the monsters in the front line, and the boss will prioritize attacks to the front line. That is really interesting. Okay, so you bring 6 monsters. Alright, they have 3 in front and 3 in back. The 3 in front will take most of the damage, and then the 3 in the back will be the ones that are kind of not taking as much damage, because the front line will be kind of taking the heat from the AoE damage. And it looks like there's already a passive on there. It looks like there's 2 passive abilities actually, and one of them with a cooldown, maybe. It just kind of looks like that because usually the passive abilities are shiny, and then the actual skills are not. Looking at this image too, you can see that there's actually the ranking on the right side, and that doesn't matter so much. It's just kind of friendly competition with your friends. It's not going to change the way you guys get your drops. Don't worry about that. But oh wow, this looks pretty cool. So it's going to look like this. So pretend like we're in the battle right now, and it shows these 3 monsters. The best idea is probably to have your nukers in the back. Now, if you see this, there's no immunity on the front line, so it looks like there's Darian, I think that's Tyrone on the left side, one of the Sylphids, or the Sylphs, and then there's, of course, Rika on the front right. So there's immunity, but the only immunity casting monster is Chloe. So the front line and the back line share buffs and debuffs if the monster puts on any debuffs on there. So if you bring someone like Chloe, you're putting on invincibility and immunity for 6 monsters. 6 monsters. So AoE buffs, like kind of like Megan or maybe even Bernard or like stuff like that, those are going to be very, very, very good, especially if you have the monsters in the back that are going to be doing most of it. I think the monsters in the back are the ones supposed to be doing the damage, because the ones in the front, it said over here, the front line tankers will share the damage dealt to the monsters in the front line. So it's even basically suggesting that you bring tanky monsters in the front, and then the back will probably be mostly just damage dealers. So that'll be that. Okay, so that's basically how it's going to be. I don't know exactly how the damage is going to be for the boss, or what kind of debuffs he'll put on, but it looks pretty terrifying. And you know what? I'm sure this is more of an end game type thing as well. I'm sure they're going to have different levels too. I don't see any kind. So you look at the picture. Usually it says B10 and stuff like that, or like there's a way to tell, but it's just a dark monster. There's no way to tell at all. So I don't know if this is going to be based on summoner level, like summoner level, or if this is going to be just a one-time floor, or like 3 floors or something. So that'll be interesting to see. I don't know where it says that at all. I think it's actually just 1 floor, maybe. We'll see how that goes though. We'll go back and be updated on that. So then the next thing that they're updating on is Rune enchantment. Okay. So this is actually one of the amazing things that I love. So you will be able to acquire the special ingredients needed for the Rune enchantment at the raid. So this is why this update's so amazing. This raid stuff, you're going to be getting rune materials. Okay, so this I don't remember what it's, I think they're called grindstones. Yes, gems and grindstones. And basically what that's going to allow you to do is change substats. You remember that flat substat that just kind of ruined your rune on a really amazing rune? Or maybe you just needed that extra speed or extra crit on your monster? Well, this is going to allow you to get it. And of course, you're going to be getting really, really nice substats if you use the legendary ones. So like that red one up at the top right there, I think that's going to be the one that adds the most. So you see how it's like 2 to 5%, 3 to 6%, or 5 to 10%. I think the one up top, the 5 to 10%, is the actual legendary grindstone. Let's go ahead and read it just to double check. So it will allow you to amplify or convert a sub-property of your rune. You will not be able to change your primary properties or the prefix property. Okay, so the prefix one I think is actually the like substat, like the fixed substat, so like the one right under the main stat, and that just means you won't be able to change that. I think that's the prefix stat, and then the actual stat is of course the, you know, the one that's like this one where it says attack plus 122. That's the main stat. You'll not be able to change that. Let's go up here again. For rune enchantment, you will be needing special gems or grindstones. You can acquire them from the raid. Yep, we know that. And then they have 5 different grades, see, from normal to legend, and then they will be designated with a specific rune set option at the moment of drop. Oh, okay, so you will not get these grindstones. I don't think you're going to get a grindstone and then just be able to use it on any rune. I think you're going to get a grindstone for a specific rune. So you're going to get this one where it says like HP plus 5 to 10% or something like that. This specific grindstone is for energy runes. So I don't think you can be able to use this on like rage runes or, you know, fatal runes. So it's probably going to be harder to get the specific grindstone that you need for like the violent runes and stuff. So I think that makes it a little bit more balanced, because then everyone would just use it on violent runes, revenge runes, will runes, and rage runes. So that's actually pretty nice. I actually think that's more balanced. I'm just reading through this. Please refer to the following image of the UI, which is still under development for better understanding. Yep. And then you can only boost the primary stats, HP, attack power, defense, attack speed, with the grindstones. I'm not sure what it says by that. I think you can, yeah, you can boost them. So this one you can upgrade the attack percent. These are the substats on the left. and it's saying you could boost it to 7 to 10%. So it adds 2 to 5%. Alright, that makes sense. I still think you'll be able to change substats. If not, people are going to be stacking so much speed. Holy shit. Alright. And then we keep going. So yeah, see, same thing with the grindstones. There's different types of levels of grindstones. I think they come with a specific thing. Alright, so you get your grindstone. It's going to be legendary, or like those different types of properties, so like a legendary grindstone or a hero grindstone or stuff like that. Or even just the regular white grindstone. You see it right down there. And those are going to have less sub-properties that you can add on to it. So you can actually add on sub-properties like this. So you come up here. You see how it's adding 7 to 10%? You can add that on to the original, I think you can add that on to the original 5%. Or it might just change. Yeah. See, it'll change it because you're adding the 2 to 5%. So it's going to come out, add it to that 5% on the left if you guys are following along, and you'll get 7 to 10% attack bar. I don't know how many times you're going to be allowed to do this, but if you can do it, up to a certain amount of times, if you get lucky, you might even get into the 30% for some of these runes, especially since you can do this, I think, multiple times. I'm not completely sure. You can actually change it too, so if you have a legendary grindstone with all these substats, you can change like this flat HP, you can change that, which is pretty nice. Look at these other substats. That looks like a nuker based monster, so of course you'd want attack percent on there instead of that flat HP. Okay, now imagine this with monsters that need very, a diverse amount of properties, like Praha, who needs accuracy, speed, crit rate, HP, stuff like that. It's going to be a lot easier to get the stats that you need for those kinds of monsters, because it's really hard to use those kinds of monsters when you need to prioritize 2 or 3 or even 4 different stats. So I think this is a way to really help with those kinds of monsters. There's some monsters that don't even really need it, like Bernard, who only really needs speed. He just needs speed if you're going to be using him for arena. So, I think changing substats isn't so much of a big deal for him, unless you're going to be adding substats like speed. You want to add another 6 to 7, speed on the rune. Then I think, this will be incredible. So, let's see. Keep going down. Only one sub-property for each rune can be converted. There we go. There's our answer. So you can only change one sub-property for each rune. And I think this means, alright, let me just read this back through again so I don't get confused. If what you're trying to convert is a sub-property with additional value added via power-up, the additionally added value will not be transferred to the converted sub-property. So that just means if you had like 3 upgrades into resistance and you change it to attack percent, it's not going to get 3 upgrades into attack percent. That's all it means. It just means like the original upgrades, like, it's a plus 12, or you can only do it to plus 12 or higher. And that just means you will not be able to get the additional upgrades that you got into those in the first place. So I have a rune that had almost 30% resistance. Now if I change it to HP percent, it's not going to be 30% HP percent, or like just about that. It's just going to go back down to what I changed it to. So I changed it to maybe like 5 or 6%. It's going to go back down to that. And it sucks, but you know what? I guess that's kind of balanced, because if you could just stack runes and be super overpowered, then I think it'd get pretty hard for lower level players especially. Only one sub-property for each rune can be converted. I don't know if that just means changing, but I think adding on to it, I'm not sure if that counts as converting. You can do it multiple times though. So you see how in this last picture how we changed a flat HP to attack percent. You can do that multiple times, so you could change the attack percent to maybe, HP percent or something like that. So it says right here, the other original sub-properties of the runes are no longer subject for conversion. However, the converted sub-property may be converted into another sub-property using other gems. And then also you will be able to see some other unforeseen sub-properties to appear when converting sub-properties using gems. I have no idea what that means. Unforeseen sub-properties, I think maybe they're talking about adding new runes or something. That's what I'm guessing. Finally, the relationship between primary properties and sub-property will be applied to conversion. So if okay, that makes sense. So you will not be able to put HP percent substat on a flat on a HP percent rune, so as the main stat. Obviously, that's kind of a given. And then the rest is just talking about, just coming out with more content. So I think the main thing with these rune stuff is being able to change one sub property or the substat, and then being able to add on. So you definitely can add on to these. And I think it's going to be a small chance to do it. So you see how it says enchant? I think that's going to, I don't know if it's going to be a chance or whatnot, but I think it would make sense if they did, because imagine if you got a bunch of speed runes for Swift and just added on speed for each individual rune, like crazy stuff. That would be insane. There's going to be Bernards up in the 300s, maybe even, higher up than that. That's insane. So, we'll see how that goes. Maybe you can only add on to once. So maybe you see this, how you add on to it. Maybe that only can happen once, but I guess we'll see. So I mainly just wanted to go through this. I think some players haven't seen this yet. It's in the developer's note, so if you guys haven't seen this yet, definitely check it out over in the developer's note. That's where we saw the necropolis dungeon announcement. So this is going to be insane. This is going to be really, really nice. It depends on how kind of capped it is, and by that I mean how many times you can really do it, or how much of a chance it is to do it, and what the drop rate is in the new dungeon. Because if the drop rate is really low and there's a cap on this, then this might not be as useful. But if the drop rate is pretty decent and there's no cap on it, it might be too overpowered. So I'm sure they balanced it out, and I guess all we can really do is wait and see. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I will be talking about stuff more like this, and I'm going to be doing my first spotlight here soon. So send me some suggestions if you guys want to see certain monsters. I'm going to be doing suggestions more than anything. I don't want to just pick some random monster and do it. So how about this? You guys leave a comment down below. I will take the most commented monster. That's what I'm going to do. So the most commented monster I will do a spotlight on, but I'm going to have to obviously find a person with that red monster. So alright guys, I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next episode. Stay tuned for some more Farmer Phil, because I still have to come out with part 2 for the debuffs stuff. Alright guys, see you later.